Arcade games on the Switch go hard. These are the ones you actually keep coming back to. Today we're counting down 25 of the best you can grab right now, from beat-em-ups to shooters to fighting games. The Marvel Maximum Collection packs in 13 versions of 6 classic Marvel games, spanning arcade, SNES, Genesis, Game Boy, and even the original Game Gear. You're getting X-Men the arcade game, which holds a Guinness World Record as the only arcade beat-em-up built for 6 simultaneous players, plus Captain America and the Avengers, Spider-Man and X-Men Arcade's Revenge, the Venom/Spider-Man symbiote follow-up, and the infamously brutal Silver Surfer shooter. The X-Men arcade port here supports full online multiplayer for up to 6 players with rollback netcode, which is huge. Modern extras like rewind, save states, a built-in cheat menu, CRT filters, and a full digital archive of box art and instruction manuals rounded out. This collection gives you the complete picture across every platform these games ever appeared on. Bitmap Bureau, the team behind the excellent Xenocrisis, took on the Terminator 2 Judgment Day license and built a brand new arcade-style action game from scratch. You play as Sarah Connor, the T-800, and in future war sections, John Connor himself, pushing through a variety of side-scrolling stages that cover the movie's key moments, and then branch out into original content. The level design is genuinely varied. Sarah breaks out of a mental institution using only a lockpick and a nightstick. The T-800 fights bikers in a straightforward brawler section, and John leads resistance fighters in machine-infested war zones. The No Fate mechanic unlocks after your first clear, letting you make choices that alter specific events, unlock secret levels, and remix weapon loadouts. Multiple modes are here too: Story, Arcade, Infinite, Boss Rush, and a timed Mother of the Future mode. Marvel Cosmic Invasion is the biggest beat-em-up the Marvel Universe has seen in pixel form. The threat here is Annihilus, who launches a galaxy-wide invasion and starts possessing both heroes and villains to fight for him. That sets up a roster of 15 playable characters, including Spider-Man, Wolverine, She-Hulk, Captain America, Storm, Black Panther, Iron Man, Phoenix, Rocket Raccoon, Beta Ray Bill, Venom, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Nova, Phyla-Vell, and Silver Surfer. The tag team mechanic lets you switch between 2 heroes mid-combo on the fly, which opens up a lot of combo options and keeps fights from getting repetitive. Levels span environments across the Marvel Universe: New York streets, Asgard's Bifrost, the symbiote homeworld Clintar, the Negative Zone, and more. Up to 4 players can play local or online co-op, and a full-voiced story mode with cutscenes treats the source material with real respect.
Sparkling beetle repartee.
It's under Annihilus's control. Fate worse than
UFO 50 is one of the most ambitious gaming projects released in years. It contains 50 completely original games across almost every genre you can think of: platformers, RPGs, shooters, puzzle games, roguelikes, sports games, and more. None of them are minigames. Every single one plays like a full game from the library of a fictional retro PC called the LX console, made by a company called UFO Soft. The fiction is layered in carefully. Each game has a fake release history, and if you play them in order, you can watch the developer's style and technical capability evolve over time. The 50th game looks and plays significantly more advanced than the first. Some standouts include Vanger, a Metroid-style exploration game where you can flip gravity at will; Grimstone, a full-length JRPG set in a Cowboys in Hell world; and Magic Garden, a deceptively addictive score attack game. SNK was making arcade games long before they became household names with Metal Slug or King of Fighters, and this collection covers the period most people don't know about. You get 24 games from the late 70s through the early 80s, including Alpha Mission, Athena, Crystallis, Ikari Warriors, Guerrilla War, POW, Psycho Soldier, Time Soldiers, and more. The collection includes both the NES home versions and the original arcade ROM for each game where available, so you can compare how ports held up against the source material. Museum features include a detailed timeline of SNK's history, developer interviews, original advertisements, and gameplay footage. Online leaderboards and rewind functionality are included. A lot of these games haven't been legally accessible for decades, and seeing where SNK started before the Neo Geo, before fighting games took over, is genuinely interesting. Sega Mega Drive Classics. Over 50 Mega Drive games in one package, covering platformers, shooters, RPGs, beat-em-ups, racing games, and sports titles. You're getting Sonic the Hedgehog 1, 2, and 3, Streets of Rage 1, 2, and 3, Golden Axe Trilogy, Gunstar Heroes, Phantasy Star Series, Shining Force games, Comic Zone, Earthworm Jim, Echo the Dolphin, Shinobi 3, Castle of Illusion, and many more. Online multiplayer is supported for multiplayer titles, and modern features like rewind, save states, mirror mode, and achievement tracking are included. The presentation puts you in a virtual bedroom with a retro CRT setup, which is a nice touch. The breadth of the library is what stands out here. No other single package gives you this wide a cross-section of Mega Drive history, from the system's early days through its later era high points. Wild Guns started as an SNES game from Natsume in 1994, and this Switch version is the expanded Reloaded edition with extra content on top of the original. The setting is a sci-fi Wild West. You're in a world where steampunk robots and alien tech coexist with classic cowboy aesthetics. The gameplay sits somewhere between a light gun game and a third-person shooter, all from a fixed 2D perspective. Your character stays locked in a lane and dodges left or right, while a cursor moves independently for aiming. You can dodge, toss back dynamite, use a lasso to stun enemies, and build up a Vulcan gun gauge for a temporary power mode that makes you invincible. The original two characters, Clint and Annie, are joined by two new ones, Doris, who fights with grenades and a ground pound, and Bullet, a dachshund who attacks with a powerful chomping strike. Seven games in one package, all from the peak era of Capcom's crossover fighting series. You get Marvel Superheroes, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom Clash of Superheroes, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 New Age of Heroes, the original X-Men Children of the Atom, and The Punisher Beat 'em Up. Each game is a faithful arcade port with online multiplayer and rollback netcode. The tag team system at the heart of the Versus series games here, the assist calls, the air combo extensions, the 3 vs 3 format of MVC2, all of it is intact and playable. A full museum mode covers the history of each game with promotional art, developer commentary, and gameplay footage. MVC2 alone is considered by many to be one of the best fighting games ever made, and it hasn't been legally available on modern platforms for years before this collection. Kaze and the Wild Masks is a love letter to the 90s platformer era, specifically the kind of momentum-driven, animal-powered action that Donkey Kong Country made famous. The story drops Kaze, a young rabbit, into a crisis when magic crystals get corrupted and turn the animals on the Crystal Islands hostile. Kaze's friend Hogo gets caught up in the chaos and goes missing, which kicks off the adventure. The core mechanic is mask collecting. You pick up animal masks across levels that temporarily transform Kaze into a tiger, hawk, shark, or lizard, each with a completely different movement style. The tiger runs across walls. The hawk flies and dives through aerial stages. The shark swims with heavy momentum, and the lizard clings to surfaces and uses its tail as a weapon. The level design is built to challenge and reward speed, with lots of hidden secrets and time bonuses for skilled play. Raiden 4 is a vertical shoot-'em-up from Seibu Kaihatsu that originally hit arcades in 2007, and this Switch version is the most complete release the game has ever had. The premise is classic shmup. Earth is under alien attack. You pilot one of several fighter ships, and you blast through 8 stages of escalating chaos, while collecting weapon pickups and dodging increasingly intense bullet patterns. Your ship has a main weapon that can be swapped out and upgraded through pickups. Options include a Vulcan cannon, missiles, and laser, plus a plasma bomb for screen-clearing emergencies. The Mikado remix part refers to a full soundtrack replacement produced by Game Center Mikado, a famous Tokyo arcade, with a lineup of musicians who remixed every track. You can switch between the original OST and the remix freely. Operation Galuga is a full reimagining of the original 1987 Contra, not just a remaster or a port, but a new game built around the same setting and characters with modern production. The Red Falcon terrorist group seizes the Galuga Islands off New Zealand's coast, triggering a military response from Commandos Bill Reiser and Lance Bean. The story mode follows them and a handful of additional playable characters through 8 stages of increasingly intense run-and-gun action. The weapon system gets a significant upgrade here. Weapons can be stacked with a secondary bonus effect, and you can sacrifice your current weapon to trigger an overload ability tied to it, essentially trading your power-up for a big situational effect. Up to 2 players can go through story mode together, and arcade mode supports 4-player co-op for pure wave-clearing chaos. Cotton Reboot. The main character is Cotton, a young witch who is obsessed with a magical candy called Willows. She convinces a fairy named Silk to come along on a quest to get more of it, which, naturally, involves blasting through hordes of monsters, demons, and spirits across colorful fantasy stages. Cotton flies on a broom and collects crystals that charge up magic spells, ranging from a standard lightning attack to screen-clearing fire waves. You also build up a fairy bomb gauge for emergency situations. The reboot package includes both the original X68000 computer version and the Sharp arcade version, and the main new addition is a full modern arrange mode that replaces the original's sprites with new high-resolution visuals while keeping the gameplay intact. The scoring system rewards aggressive play and risk-taking with multipliers. You get the original Street Fighter, Street Fighter II and its championship, Hyper, Turbo, and Super Turbo revisions, Street Fighter Alpha 1, 2, and 3, and Street Fighter 3, New Generation, Second Impact, and Third Strike. Online multiplayer with rollback netcode is supported for 4 of the titles: Hyper Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Alpha 3, and Third Strike. A massive museum section covers the history of the series in depth, with artwork, developer commentary, character profiles, and promotional materials. Each game is a direct arcade port, running as close to the original as possible. The breadth here is the point. Seeing Street Fighter's visual and mechanical evolution from the original arcade cabinet all the way to Third Strike's parry-based system is genuinely fascinating, and having the best versions of each game accessible in one place with proper online support makes this a go-to for fighting game fans. Blazing Chrome is a run-and-gun built by Joy Masher that channels the exact energy of 16-bit Contra without just copying it. The setting is a future where machines have conquered the world and humanity is nearly wiped out. A small resistance is all that remains. You pick from an initial roster of 2 characters, Mavra, a human soldier, and Doyle, a rebel robot, with 2 more unlockable, a cyborg mercenary and a ninja with melee-focused play. The core loop is pure action. Move forward, blast everything, collect weapon drops, survive boss fights. Weapons include a grenade launcher, wave beam, charge shot, and your default machine gun, which is actually one of the better weapons in the game. You can pick up shields, attack drones, and speed boosts as support items. 5 stages, each broken into multiple subsections with mid-bosses and major bosses. Beating the game unlocks boss rush and mirror mode. Mr. Driller DrillLand. The premise? Susumu Hori, Mr. Driller himself, is visiting a theme park 500 meters underground called DrillLand. There are 5 attractions inside, each with their own set of gameplay rules built on the core mechanic of drilling downward through colored blocks. The basic mode has you drilling through stacked blocks while managing your air supply. Air capsules restore it, but if 2 blocks of the same color touch when adjacent, They merge and chain, which is key to efficient clearing. The 5 attraction modes add wrinkles. One features power-up blocks with special effects. Another has a horror theme with ghost mechanics. Another is race-focused with a competitive edge, and so on. Up to 4 players can compete in multiplayer races and battle modes locally. A new casual mode removes the failure state for those who want a relaxed experience. Shadow of the Ninja was an NES action platformer from Natsume in 1990 that flew under the radar for decades. Tengo Project, the same team behind the excellent Pocky and Rocky, Withered Leaf remade it for modern platforms, and the Switch version is excellent. The story is classic dystopian action. 2 ninjas, Hayate and Kaede, are sent on a mission to assassinate the dictator of a cyberpunk United States in 2029. You platform through 5 completely rebuilt stages, plus a brand new 6th stage that wasn't in the original. Fighting waves of enemies, navigating trap-filled corridors, and taking on bosses with demanding attack patterns. Your ninja has a katana for close range and a kusarigama chain for longer range attacks, both assignable to their own buttons. The tool shop between runs lets you spend earned points on loadout customization. Sega Ages Out Run is one of the defining arcade games of all time. A 1986 Sega cabinet that puts you in a Ferrari Testarossa and lets you cruise branching coastal roads to the sound of a jazz-funk soundtrack you could select yourself. This Switch version, produced by M2 as part of the Sega Ages line, is considered the definitive release of the game. You get the original arcade experience, plus the Arrange mode, which adds new music tracks, a superscaler mode that cranks the visuals, and an online rankings board for chasing high scores globally. The gameplay is time-based driving. You race through checkpoints on branching routes that let you choose your own path at each fork, meaning different runs through the game see different scenery. Collisions with other cars or barriers cost time through a spin-out animation. Capcom Fighting Collection 2 brings together 10 arcade fighters that haven't been easily accessible for years. The lineup includes Capcom vs. SNK Millennium Fight 2000 Pro, Capcom vs. SNK 2 Mark of the Millennium 2001, Street Fighter Alpha Warrior's Dreams, Street Fighter Alpha 2 Gold, Super Gem Fighter Mini Mix Pocket Fighter, Cyberbots Full Metal Madness, Power Stone, Power Stone 2, Plasma Sword Nightmare of Bilstein, and Capcom Fighting Evolution. The Power Stone games alone make this collection essential. They're 3D arena brawlers that have never been ported to modern platforms and feature chaotic 4-player local multiplayer packed with items, weapon pickups, and environmental interaction. The Capcom vs. SNK titles are among the most mechanically rich crossover fighters ever made. Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is a side-scrolling action game set within the Ninja Gaiden universe as a story that runs parallel to the original trilogy. Ryu Hayabusa leaves for America, and in his absence, the barrier between the human world and the demon realm shatters, unleashing a full-scale demon invasion on Hayabusa Village. A young ninja in training named Kenji Mozu steps up to fight, but the threat is too much, forcing him to form an unlikely alliance with Kumori, an assassin from the rival Black Spider clan. You control both ninjas, switching between them with distinct combat styles and abilities. Kenji wields a katana and focuses on melee, can wall cling on ceilings and vertical surfaces, and has a guillotine boost that lets him bounce off projectiles and enemies for repositioning. The ninja fusion mechanic lets you combine their abilities for devastating combo attacks. Killer Queen Black is a remake of a 2013 arcade game that was specifically designed as a multiplayer experience for up to 10 people gathered around a single cabinet. The Switch version supports up to 8 players online or locally. Each match puts 2 teams of 4 against each other on a single-screen arena, 1 queen and 3 workers per side. The queen can fly and attack. Workers can jump and collect resources. There are 3 ways to win. Military victory means killing the enemy queen 3 times. Economic victory means workers collect enough berries and fill their home hive. Snail victory means getting a worker to ride a slow-moving snail across the map to the goal line before the other team stops them. Workers can visit upgrade chambers to become soldiers, armed fighters who can't collect berries but can take on the queen. Wonder Boy Collection. This collection gathers 4 Wonder Boy games from the Sega Master System and arcade era: Wonder Boy in Monsterland, Wonder Boy 3: The Dragon's Trap, and Wonder Boy in Monster World. The original Wonder Boy is a straightforward run-and-jump arcade platformer with tight controls and escalating stages. Monsterland introduces RPG elements, shops, equipment, keys, and a boss-focused structure. The Dragon's Trap is the crown jewel, a Metroidvania where you play as a hero cursed to transform into different animal forms: Lizard Man, Mouse Man, Piranha Man, Lion Man, and Hawk Man, each with different movement abilities that open up new areas. Monster World continues in that RPG action direction, with a larger world and inventory system. All 4 games include both original and new pixel art visual modes, plus an arranged music option. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Cowabunga Collection. 13 TMNT games in one collection covering every major release from 1987 through 1994. You get the original NES arcade port, the NES Tournament Fighters, the SNES Tournament Fighters, the Genesis Tournament Fighters, the original black and white Game Boy game, TMNT 2, the arcade game, TMNT 3, the Manhattan Project, TMNT 4, Turtles in Time for SNES, the SNES Tournament Fighters, the Genesis Hyperstone Heist, Fall of the Foot Clan, Back from the Sewers, Radical Rescue, and the 1989 Konami arcade game Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with online multiplayer and rollback netcode. Every game has a digital museum with flyers, manuals, advertisements, and concept art. Online play is supported across several titles. Turtles in Time, the SNES version, widely considered one of the best beat-em-ups ever made, is here in its original form. The Rumblefish 2 is a 2D arcade fighting game from Dimps that originally appeared on the Atomis Wave arcade platform in 2005 and was essentially lost until this Switch port in 2022. The setting is a dark, near-future city where factions of street fighters clash for dominance, survival, and revenge. The roster of 14 characters each have distinct fighting styles and backstories embedded in the world's lore. The combat system is mechanically rich but accessible. A Gatling system lets you chain normal attacks into combos easily, similar to older Guilty Gear titles, meaning you can get something going immediately. The meter system is split into 2 gauges, an offense gauge that fills when you attack, giving access to super moves, and a defense gauge that fills when you block, granting defensive counters and guard cancels. Ninja 5-0 is a Game Boy Advance action platformer from Hudson Soft that came out in 2003, sold almost nothing, became one of the rarest and most expensive GBA cartridges on the secondhand market, and finally arrived on Switch in 2025 through a Konami and Limited Run Games re-release. You play as Joe Osugi, a detective who also happens to be a trained ninja. His city of Zipangu is being terrorized by a criminal organization using hostages and hired muscle, and Joe has to work through a series of missions, bank heists, hijackings, and more, rescuing civilians and shutting down the threat. The gameplay mixes shinobi-style action with elements of Bionic Commando and elevator action. Joe can sword-slash enemies in close range, throw shurikens, and use a grappling hook rope that swings him across gaps and lets him hang from ceilings. A mechanic that becomes central to boss fights, which demand constant movement. Street Fighter II doesn't need an introduction. Ultra Street Fighter II is Capcom's enhanced Nintendo Switch exclusive revision of the game, based on Super Street Fighter II Turbo. The full original roster is here: Ryu, Ken, Chun-Li, Guile, Blanca, Dhalsim, Zangief, E Honda, Balrog, Vega, Sagat, M. Bison, and the original hidden characters plus 2 new additions, Evil Ryu and Violent Ken. alongside Shin Akuma as a secret boss. You can toggle between classic pixel art graphics and new HD artwork at any point. The balance has been updated from the HD Remix version with additional tweaks. A Way of the Hado first-person motion control mode uses Joy-Con for throwing Hadokens and Shoryukens at Shadaloo enemies. A fun aside. Co-op mode lets two players team up against the CPU simultaneously on both sides. That's the 25, a mix of new collections, remastered classics, and modern originals, all carrying that arcade DNA. Drop your favorites in the comments, and if there's one we missed that you think deserves a spot, let us know.